Hey, Dr. David Crozy here with 20 Calls Per Week Chiropractic Marketing, and I wanted to jump on and talk with you today about 9 reasons that you might get skunked or strike out when you do an event, whether that's a health fair or you go and do a lunch and learn. And so I know that I got people around the world. I use some phrases that you're not familiar with. So get skunked, that's like a fishing term. That's you go out fishing and you know the guy next to you catches 5 and you get skunked. You catch nothing. Strikeout in baseball, I think most people understand that. But I wanted to talk about this because my wife Val, she has a couple little side businesses. She's actually a home care nurse is her main gig, but she started this, it's called Granola Face Skincare, and it's all natural products. She's got an Etsy store you're welcome to look up, buy one from her. That'd make her day. So she has Granola Face Skincare, and then she also has this microgreens farming business, and she's now starting a subscription service where she's going to deliver microgreens to people around town. But back in the spring, she got an opportunity to host a class at the library on how to use natural oils to make like a skin serum, like kind of an anti-aging serum. And so the library basically ended up paying her $5 per person that attended. She got $60, and so she came back from it super excited about how it went. And so now with her microgreens farming business, I was actually encouraging her to do this lunch and learn type of marketing. So actually call up the businesses. You know, we've been to probably 160, 180 businesses in Des Moines, and so we know the contacts there. And I was telling her, hey, you could go in and do a lunch and learn, teach them how to grow their own microgreens, and then offer them the subscription service. And you know, I was talking to her about it, and she just seemed kind of hesitant. She was dragging her heels and just didn't seem that interested. And I was like, you know, you had a great time when you did that last event. And she said, well, David, she said, you know, I got paid $60, and she said, I actually spent $90 on that event. And she said, so I lost $30, and I didn't feel like anybody followed up and actually bought on Etsy. And I just was so kind of heartbroken that she was willing to write off public speaking after one event. The reality is that there's a lot of reasons that you can go and do an event. You know, you sign up for my program, I'm going to be telling you everything you need to go out and do a lunch and learn, attend a health fair. And statistically, I know this is going to work for you, but you could go out in your first event, you could get skunked. Your second event, you could get skunked. And so I wanted to spend a little time, go over some of the reasons that I've gone out and done events. I've had events where we brought back 20 or 30 new patients from a health fair. I've gone and I talked to a room of 33 people, and we came back with 20 new patient appointments. But I've also gone and talked to 35 people, and I've come back with 1 appointment. And so just statistically this works, but there are reasons that you could go and have an event and you're not going to get results. And so I just wanted to review those. So the first I wanted to mention I've got 5 reasons that are outside of your control that you could go in and do an event and it just doesn't work. People don't schedule. So the first reason is if this company feels like the last chiropractor that came in and did an event for them took advantage of the group or harassed them, they're going to judge you and think that you're going to be the same exact way. Now, it's so funny. Just last night, I got my hair cut. So, obviously, I'm going bald. So, I just went to Great Clips. And it was so hilarious to overhear the conversation because 2 weeks ago, somebody from a local chiropractor's office came in and did like a myovision or some kind of a scan on these people at Great Clips. And like the 2 ladies that were there cutting hair, both signed up. They did $20 and went to a good cause, and then they scheduled a new patient workup. Both of them skipped their new patient workup. And so these ladies were talking with like the 4 people in Great Clips about how the person that scheduled them is now straight up harassing them about coming in. They're calling them all the time. And so these people, if I came in and tried to do a lunch and learn, I would have gotten almost no results because they would totally judge me by that last chiropractor. Let's say that the last chiropractor that came in and did a lunch and learn, they had some people come in and they did like some kind of a huge prepay that had no option for the person to stop in the middle, or if they stopped, there was this huge penalty. If this whole group had a chiropractor come in and take advantage of them, then you're not going to get a very good amount of response as far as people scheduling. So that's the first thing. The second thing is there could actually be a poisonous person in the room. And so when I look back over the course of my career doing lunch and learns, I mean, usually I feel like I'm a stand-up comic when I'm up there giving my talk. I've got people laughing. My talks are super interactive, so I bring people up in front of everybody and kind of they get embarrassed and everybody gets to laugh at their friends. But I remember in particular, I went and did this talk for this. It's called the Iowa Association of Cities or Counties. Iowa Association of Counties. We've got 99 counties in Iowa. And so there was probably 15 people in the room, and I could not get anybody in the room to crack a smile. These people, I just look back on that and I'm like, there was one of two things going on. Either they flat out hated somebody that was in the room, like just with a passion. And so that could really poison the room. If everybody in their mind is just like, there's that person in the room that just is making their veins pop out on the side of the forehead, it doesn't matter how good your talk is, they're not going to be very responsive. The other thing could be that if a company just got bad news. So let's say if there's the rumor mill within that office is that they're going to be doing a series of layoffs, and there's this rumor that 2 people are losing their jobs tomorrow. It's like, you bring in your lunch and learn, and it's like they're sitting around having the Last Supper. I mean, it is not a celebratory mood. And so that alone could make it that you go in and you provide this great lunch and learn, and your talk is compelling, it's fun, people are having a great time, or they should be having a great time, and instead there's just this somberness in the room because they're looking around and they're like, one of us has to go. Somebody's leaving. So the company might have just gotten bad news. So another thing, streaks. So if you've been doing chiropractic for a little while, you understand that things come in streaks. I know, I had a period of time that I had like 12 people come in that were all hyper flexible. And each person that came in as a new patient, I was like, show me your stupid human tricks. And their elbows bend backwards 20 degrees. It's just like bend over and touch the floor, and they bonk their forehead up against their shins. I've had streaks of sciatica, shoulder problems. I remember in 1 month, I had 3 different ladies come in, 10 out of 10 neck pain. And I said, what started the neck pain? And they said, I was putting shampoo in my hair in the shower. So do anything long enough and you get streaks. And so with chiropractic lunch and learns, with health fairs, you can have streaks of great success where you just feel like you can do no wrong. And every time you go and talk to people, you're going to get half the room to sign up. But then you can have other times that you strike out, you get skunked. I mean, things come in streaked. And so when you start doing your lunch and learns, if your first 1, 2, 3 don't go great, I got to tell you, that you could just start on an unlucky streak. And I just got to encourage you to keep going. Statistically, this stuff works. Get on modern chiropractic marketing and ask what works. And people that have grown practices, people that have been there before you will tell you that lunch and learn, health fair, face-to-face, meeting people, shaking people's hands, finding out what's wrong with them, that type of marketing works. But you can have a bad streak. The last thing to mention is just a straight up full moon. I mean, sometimes there's just a weirdness in the air. We've had our full moon the last couple days, and it's like, it's the wrong time to if you have patients that you just like, they quit coming to see you and you're grateful about it, I'm like, I try not to think about those people, and I especially try not to think about those people around a full moon because, it's like I quote The Office, I'm not superstitious, but I'm a little stitious. And there are times of the month that just there's weirdness in the air, and you might go out and do a lunch and learn and it just doesn't bring in the new patients that it should, even though you do a great job. So I do want to mention some reasons that you could strike out that are under your control. So the first one is lacking congruence. So I tell my personal story in some spots, but up until 2010, I was like 35 pounds heavier than I am now. And so I was trying to grow this sports practice. I was an active release techniques provider, but I did not look healthy. And in 2010, I did the standard process purification program. I dropped 15 pounds in 21 days. I kept doing it, except I added in cottage cheese and eggs for the next 5 weeks. and I dropped 25 pounds. So I'm only 5'7" in height, but I went from 175 to 150, and now for the last 9.5 years here, I've hovered between like about 137 up to 150, just depending on how much biking and how much running I'm doing. And when I go out and I do a talk and I talk about health, I look like a healthy person up front. And so if you don't feel like you look healthy, I encourage you that you should take steps to go that direction. So do the Whole30, do a standard process purification program. Stop smoking if you've been smoking. It's looking the part does make a difference. And so I encourage you to do what you can to take a step toward congruency. Second one is failing to provide social proof. So what I explain in my 20 calls per week lunch and learn program is that the best form of proof is simply bringing an employee with you. I'm looking for what I call the nurse effect, and that's that when you go into a doctor's office, any medical doctor, any doctor, if we ask a group of people, do you trust the doctor more or do you trust the nurse more? Most people would say that they trust the nurse more. I've seen this played out in my own life. There was a time that I was actually overdue to go to the dentist, but I went in for a wellness checkup. The hygienist checked me out and she said, "Oh my gosh, you've been doing a great job." She said, I can tell you use an electric toothbrush because everything's looking fantastic. And then the dentist came in and he told me, "You have 3 cavities." Now, who do I trust more? Now, obviously in that situation, I was like, these things did not line up. The hygienist told me I looked like $1 million and everything was looking good, and the dentist told me 3 cavities. And so I went and got a second opinion. The second dentist I went to told me that I was looking good as well. And so that nurse effect, if you don't have a staff person that's going to come with you to a lunch and learn, then I would tell you that you need to be talking about your family when you're at the lunch and learn. You need to, if you're not married, you don't have kids, and you're not able to tell fun stories about your wife and kids, then you need to talk about your dog. We need to find some way to prove to these people that you're a good person, that they can trust you, that they should like you, that they should want to come in and see you. So we want to provide social proof. Otherwise, if you don't have either of those, you might need to do it. You need to get some video testimonials from your office, and maybe you play a couple of those testimonials within the lunch and learn, so that they're like, "Oh yeah, that lady there trusted him enough." So we want people to say, you're a good person. Another reason that would be outside of your control is, or it's within your control, is if you're out of network with an insurance. And so if you go to a place and do a lunch and learn, and you're out of network with their insurance, if they have really crummy insurance benefits, that's not a big deal, right? I mean, if everybody in there has $6,000 deductible, and you can actually, emphasize, okay, here's this initial offer to come in, it's a great deal, and then, I know that you guys have this plan that's really crummy, it's high deductible, and so coming in to see us, there's no downside. I mean, you might have great results. We have one particular group that has been frustrating. So the Des Moines, I live in the city of Des Moines. I practice in actual Clive, but they're people that work at their school. They have a PPO plan that we're in network with, and then they have an HMO plan that we're out of network with. And so the PPO plan, for years, PPO plan had 100% coverage for chiropractic. So if people had that plan and they wanted to come in and see us, they could come in for 20 visits a year with no questions asked, with no out-of-pocket whatsoever. Now the problem there is that only about 20% of people that worked at the schools have the PPO plan. The HMO plan could also go to a chiropractor for free. That's 80% of the rooms at 80% of the room at a lunch and learn. But if they came and see us, they'd have to pay our non-insurance price, which is $45 to $60 a visit during that period of time. And so it's super frustrating. We'd still go and do these lunch and learns, but about 80% of the room, if they came and see us, had to pay way more than if they went in network. And so in these situations, we try not to bring up the fact that we're out of network if possible. That's one reason when you do a lunch and learn, I actually encourage you not to take questions at the end, because you can give this really compelling talk you tell a really story that makes people want to come in and get their problem fixed at the end of the lunch and learn. And then if you say, does anybody have any questions? The first question might be, yeah, do you guys take our insurance? And then like these people start talking and they're like, no, 4/5 of the room, he doesn't take our insurance. And all of a sudden your results just plummet. If somebody does ask me point blank, I'll give them an honest answer personally, but I encourage people not to take questions. So, if you're out of network with all the insurance, then to some extent we're looking for companies that their insurance benefits are crummy. And in that situation, it's not going to be as big a deal because everybody knows, hey, we got this $5,000 deductible. It doesn't matter if we go in network or out of network. So the last thing is that if your content is low energy, not engaging, it's going to be hard. I mean, if people are getting bored, if they're falling asleep in your lunch and learn, then it's not going to produce a bunch of patients coming in. And so that's where the presentations that I have within my program, they're all super interactive. We're having people come up, we're doing demonstrations on people. I'm having people call out answers and kind of putting people on the spot. And I teach you how to implement that, and it's super easy. And so, in just a couple weeks here, we're going to be opening up the course for enrollment. And if you're interested in getting out there and doing lunch and learns, I'll be super excited to get you up to speed, getting out there, having results. If you're already doing lunch and learns and you've done one or two and you haven't gotten great results, I'm going to encourage you to don't give up. I mean, if there are things that are under your control, like change those and put all the odds in your favor, but don't give up. Again, get in the Modern Chiropractic Marketing Group and ask what works. Just yesterday, I'm in the Close for Chiro group, and I strongly recommend that group. They have a great strategy to explain to people why they need chiropractic and to communicate how a person can get great results through chiropractic in your office. They've certainly helped my office become more successful, but I'm in their Facebook group, and a young lady just yesterday, another chiropractor, went out and she said that she did a lunch and learn, and every single person in the room came in for a new patient appointment or scheduled one. And so statistically this stuff works, but you can still go out and do a lunch and learn, do a health fair, and feel like it didn't work. And hopefully this gives you some idea of some of the reasons that you could get skunked. And by understanding those reasons, then you're going to be more optimistic to proceed forward and to keep booking these events. So Dr. David Croce here again. Thanks for listening, and I hope you got a lot out of this discussion.